I heard you got a dream you've been sleeping on, goals you've been ducking, and habits you've been running away from. And I'm here to wake that ass up because while you're sitting around here waiting on perfect conditions, that dream of yours is collecting dust. And the longer it sits, the more likely it's bound to plant itself in the heart of someone else. And of course, only we can do what we can do in the way that we can do it. But that idea isn't just limited to your unique way of execution. That idea doesn't belong to you until you stand firmly and take ownership of it. And I really want you to hear me when I say take, because take is all about that action, baby. Planning is great, but dreams stay dreams until you put that action behind it. And as we know, I've mentioned this time and time again, your girl loves a plan. Your girl is loyal to a plan. But think about it this way. Think about your dreams like music. Music has a certain rhythm to it, a certain cadence, a certain flow about it. Think about your dreams like water. There's ebb and there's flow. So I want you to think less about rigid plans and more about flowing into action, grooving into action, moving sonically with the rhythm of your dreams so that you can actually be taking steps toward them so that they can actually come true. And I know you're thinking, who the F are you? You don't even know me. Who are you to tell me about what I'm like, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing? And that's valid. But if I struck a nerve, it's probably because I'm right and you needed to be called out. And you're right. What do I know? Maybe what used to be your dream isn't your dream anymore. And so now you're feeling a bit discouraged because you're feeling a little bit behind. Or maybe, just maybe, you've already achieved the dream of the person you used to be. But now the current version of yourself is telling you to dream bigger, bolder, better, but you're afraid to take that risk. Whatever the case may be for you, it's time to get real honest with yourself about what you want and not just what you think you want or what seems like it would be nice or what somebody told you should be going after. And for those of you who've been rocking with me for a while, you know I'm no stranger to this subject. I'm all about preaching on how to take your goals, going after your goals, accomplishing your dreams despite having nothing, despite starting over. No matter what age you are, it's never too late and you never have too little to go after the life you want to live. And although I'm just some random person on the stranger whose words hold little to no weight, no value in your personal life and how you live day to day, I want to share the stories of 4 incredible women who have and continue to inspire me every day to go after the life I want to live versus settling for whatever crumbs I get. What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I am your girl Ash, and I know we kind of just kicked it off before we got into the introductions, but as y'all know, I like to skip the small talk and get right into it. But I realized some of you really actually don't know who I am, so I am going to make some kind of Q&A, get to know me, chat it up, vlog coming to you next week. But until then, I do want to tell the stories of these 4 incredible women because the way that they inspire and continue to inspire me, I hope that they can inspire you or can remind you to really look into the people who do inspire you so that you can take notes and learn from the things that they did that worked that you want to emulate. And I don't mean copy in the sense of like looking at what they did and then trying to match it word for word, action for action. I mean seeing what they did, taking it, making it your own, and emulating that energy so that you can bring your vision into reality. But before we even get all into that, I do want to talk about the darker side of dreaming, the darker side of having these big, bold, courageous dreams, but not quite have them in your grasp just yet, to still be kind of in the motion of chasing those dreams. The reality is sometimes chasing our dreams feels like self-sabotage dressed up in a gorgeous fly-ass outfit. One minute you're inspired, feeling creative, ready to take the leap, be bold, step out, feeling good, and the next you're lying in bed, doom scrolling job applications, wondering if you should just return to what is safe. But what in life is truly 100% safe? Take me, for instance. I decided to chase my dream of creating immersive sensory experiences in what felt like the safest way possible at the time. I entered the film industry, where most positions are under a union, so job security isn't really something you're thinking about, right? And even though jobs are contracted and project to project basis, there's always some production, so you're always going to be working. There's never a shortage of projects, right? Wrong. Wrong, because here we are, a pandemic, an extended strike, a crippling economy later, and production is not what it used to be. Working in the film industry is not what it used to be, whether you are in front of or behind the camera. That's the truth for so many of us. So many people in the tech industry experiencing layoffs, people who work as federal employees experiencing layoffs. And despite all of that being so far beyond our control, whether or not we'll be able to hold on to a job, if a job will have layoffs or do whatever it's going to do, somehow we still rather settle for the idea of job security rather than face the uncertainty that comes with the risk of betting on ourselves. And I'm not telling you to quit your job immediately right now with no savings account and no plan for the future. Not what I'm telling you to do. But I am saying that choosing a 9 to 5 job that you maybe hate because you feel like it's safe, they could throw you away in a second, baby girl. Like, they don't gotta give you a 2 weeks. If they want to lay you off, they could lay you off and be like, hey, we gotta let all y'all go tomorrow. Today is your last day. When you clock out, don't clock back in again. I think we all just need to be in a place where we're covered and protected and covering ourselves. If you are an employee in a traditional 9 to 5, make sure you have some investments or passive income, or just don't have all of your eggs in one basket. Don't be getting all of your income from one source. Chasing our dreams will absolutely always be worth it in the long run if that dream is true to you, to the core of who you are and the essence of your nature. But in the beginning, that negativity and that self-doubt, baby girl, it really does get to you. For me, negative self-talk loves to pop in right when I get that opportunity. My brain will whisper, am I even good enough for this? Is this even right for me? Can I even do this? And then from the moment I get the opportunity to the moment of execution, heart palpitating, anxiety, and for what? Because it always goes what? Very freaking well. Very freaking well. Just ask any of my clients, look at any of my past projects, not to toot my own horn, but the execution always A1, baby, okay? And I know it's going to be A1, but that doesn't mean I don't have those thoughts that pop up like, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you're good enough? Are you sure you're right for this? Is this even what you're meant to be doing? Is this God's plan for you? Like, all these questions that make me wonder if I should continue in the path I'm taking or not. When you're staring at your bank account like, yeah, can I even afford these dreams? Dreams is expensive. They cost investments of my time, my money, my resources, my connections. Like, can I even afford groceries this week, let alone this investment that this dream might take? Could you afford that matcha latte that you got? What about those new shoes? What about that concert ticket? No, you just put that on Klarna. You figured it out, right? So if you could figure it out for the things that you definitely don't need to spend money on, you could figure it out for your dreams, because that, baby, is where the worth is. This is an investment that you will see return on. So it's always going to be worth it. If that matcha latte going to give you energy for a second and then it's going to be gone, you're going to need another. So is that really the investment, or is your dreams the investment you should be spending the money you don't have on? I'm not coming for you. I'm just asking these questions. And oof, child, let's not even get into those late night just breakdown sessions. The one where you start questioning every life decision you've ever made up until that point, wondering which one got you here where you are right now that you don't want to be. That like spiraling loop of questions, and now you're crying and eating a bunch of Oreos and it's 3 a.m. and you know you need to go to bed, because how are you going to wake up and do your morning routine and live your dream life if you up at 3 a.m. eating Oreos and crying? Yeah, I don't know. I ask myself these same questions, and now I'm asking you so you can be thinking about them, right? Right. I love how, as humans, we convince ourselves to constantly play it safe. But if I'm being honest with you, dream chasing is wildly unpredictable and sometimes downright disrespectful. And I don't say that to scare you, I just say that to validate you, to say that you're not crazy for any of the weird experiences and emotions that you might be feeling and have felt in this time that you've been building your dream life. Because every single person, every single successful person has been where you are right now. No resources, no connections, no prospects for the future, wondering what the hell they're gonna do, eating them ramen noodles, tired of the PBJs, wonder if they're getting fat because they're not going to the gym, not drinking their water, agitated, depressed, so on and so forth. Okay. It is not a unique experience. You're not alone in your experience. I don't want to say it's not unique, right? Because we're all unique individuals, we're all unique beings. So all of our experiences are always unique. But you're not alone in the things that you're going through. You're not the only one who's been there. And that's why I say it's important to look to the people that inspire us, because those people who inspire us, we can learn from. We can get motivation from to continue going, to be like, maybe this isn't the smartest way or the most efficient way I can be doing this. Maybe there is a better way to do what I've been doing that would take some of that pressure off of me, that would allow me to burn out less. So it's important to get out of ourselves and stop looking so inward and being so internally focused on what we can and can't do, what we do and what we don't have, and project externally, look externally to those sources of inspiration, those sources of motivation, those sources of discipline, and see what others are doing, right? Because there's no reason that we shouldn't learn from the mistakes and wins of other people. The only difference from the people who are living in their dreams right now and you is the fact that they didn't give up. They kept going and they made it happen. Think about Doechii. Old girl got fired, lost her job, and said, I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to see if I can intern here, pop up there, pull up there, show up here. They're going to see this face, they're going to hear this name, they're going to know me. Gave herself 30 days to create an album and said, whatever gets created in this time is what it's going to be. And once that 30 days is up, I cannot continue to further revise, because we will revise all day out of fear of just dropping it and putting it out there. Give yourself some kind of timetable for your dreams, not some rigid timetable. It's like, you got to do this and this and this and this and this and this at this time, but some sort of timetable where it's like, okay, I have until this date to be chasing this dream. And if it doesn't work, I reevaluate, pivot, do something different. Or I have this amount of time to chase this dream. And once that time is up, whatever I have to put out into the world. And even if it's just the practicing the habit of putting things out into the world, even if it's just, I'm going to give myself one drawing to create every single week. And every single week, at the end of that week, I have to share that drawing publicly on Instagram, or share that drawing publicly to my friends and family via text message. Whatever the case may be, just building up that habit of putting yourself on a timetable and executing and producing and putting it out, and then doing that all over again until you're so used to the timetable, the producing, the execution, that you don't need to necessarily put yourself on that timetable, because you're just creating, producing, things are just flowing into you, flowing out of you, and now you're one with nature. I can sit here, talk all day about this. Honestly, it's something I'm really passionate about. But let's get into the real points and purpose of this video, which are the 4 bold, beautiful, courageous women who have and continue to inspire me, with the hopes that they can certainly inspire you. If anything, at least push you into finding those sources of inspiration on your own. But I could not end International Women's History Month without talking about bold women who impact my life. Women of color is where I will start, because I'm a Black woman. Okay, we just got out of Black History Month, Women's History Month, Black Women's History Month. I didn't say that, but it makes sense. Here are 4 bold, innovative women who did not wait for permission. Instead, they built their own lane and turned it into a goddamn highway so that others could also ride their path of success. Imagine dominating an industry for 20 years before simply waking up one day and walking away. Well, that's exactly what our girl Rihanna did when she went on an indefinite music hiatus after dropping Anti almost a decade ago at this point. A decade next year, actually. And I mean, people continue to beg for new music. Instead, a year after Auntie dropped, she gave birth to a new baby, the start of her billion-dollar empire. She recognized the gap in not one, but two industries where brands weren't making space for darker skin tones and weren't highlighting a wide range of body types. Basically, brands weren't prioritizing inclusivity. Ooh, big shocker there, but she recognized those gaps and she decided to be the person to fill them. Instead of complaining, she got up and she gave us Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty within a year of each other, disrupting both the fashion and the beauty industry in a way that no one could ignore. But let's talk about the risk that it went into her entire career from singing to where she is today. First, in 2005, she left the only home she's ever known for a foreign land with the dreams of becoming a pop icon. And almost a decade later, after realizing that dream, in 2014, she left Def Jam, the label she had been with since the start of her career. This is now her second risk. But she left to bet on herself so that she could take on full creative control on the rollout of her project, Auntie. And 2 years later, she dropped what we now know as the last album of her career, but one of the most streamed, most successful albums she's dropped to date. And she could have continued to play it safe and kept churning out new albums now that she had creative control over her career. She could have just stayed in her comfort zone as a chart-topping music artist. Instead, she chose to expand her vision once more and bet on herself, becoming the mogul that she now is. Now she's a billionaire who works on her time with businesses and foundations that serve and employ others. She's also the only woman to perform mid-air at the Super Bowl while pregnant. After a 5-year performance hiatus. I mean, this woman is bold and she takes bold, intentional risks. Think about it. Leaving her home to become a pop star. Had no idea if she would become one, but did. Leaving her label, her career as a music artist, to say, F that. I am now going to become a business mogul. I'm now going to start a billion-dollar empire. And did. She's done voice acting. She's done so many incredible things that I'm sure at the time that she decided to leave Barbados to be a pop icon, she never imagined that she'd be able to be accomplishing these things and achieving these things at such a young age, in her 30s, in her low 30s at that. She is a shining example of what it looks like and what it means to truly bet on yourself, to take those bold risks and stand boldly proud in who you are every step of the way. Rihanna serves as a reminder to me that sometimes it takes walking away from what people have grown to expect from you in order to step into something bigger, in order to step into the next best thing for you. Now, let's get into my Capricorn 2020 twin, Miss Issa Rae. Issa didn't wait for Hollywood to give her a seat at the table, okay? Instead, she built her own with chairs, fine china, and a 5-course meal. I know that's right, child. When she started Awkward Black Girl in 2011, she was dead broke. Self-funding episodes and filming with friends because, let's be real, the industry wasn't checking for awkward, dark-skinned Black women as their leading ladies. She got so many rejections from labels who were telling her show wasn't relatable enough. Think about it. She's pitching something like Awkward Black Girl, which ended up turning into Insecure, and they said it wasn't relatable enough. Do you know how many times I've watched Insecure? The whole thing, episode to episode, season to season. Not relatable. The real issue wasn't relatability. It was that she wasn't palatable enough for their outdated, whitewashed version of diversity. But instead of folding in the face of rejection, she pivoted, crowdfunded, and built a loyal audience from the ground up. So when HBO finally came knocking at her door to make Insecure, she didn't just take the opportunity. She flipped the entire industry's perspective on what Black storytelling could and should look like. And what I love about Issa is that she didn't just stop at storytelling and production. She understood the power of ownership and how ownership could be used to create opportunities for others. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of getting your foot in the door and your seat at the table if you can't bring the homies with you? Not all the homies, but within reason. And with that knowledge, she expanded. She helped to open up a chain coffee shop called Hilltop in LA, which, beyond being a fantastic business move, has become a space for creatives like myself to work, connect, and build just like she did when she was coming up. It also doesn't hurt that the food slaps. But more on that in a future vlog on my trip to LA. But of course, storytelling, production, a coffee shop wasn't enough. She had to keep it going. She also owns a full-fledged music label, an audio content company designed to give independent artists opportunities and visibilities like the one she fought for on TV. Now, not only is her label behind the soundtracks of major HBO shows, they also curate music for other films and television productions. And don't even get me started on Sienna Naturals, baby girl. Sienna Naturals is her clean beauty brand for textured hair that puts Black women at the forefront of the natural hair conversation. I mean, I can go on and on with things like Somerville, Poochie Khan, Issa Rae, but the point is that every decision she's made, every move she's made has been very intentional. She didn't just break into Hollywood, drop a major bomb like Insecure, and then fade into the bushes like Homer. She redefined what success looks like, success for Black women. She redefined what it means to be a creative, what it means to be a successful creative. She learned how to take every no and turn it into an opportunity so that she could build her own lanes. So instead of waiting for permission, take a page out of Issa's book. Show the world why they need you, and I promise it'll catch up. It'll catch up. People will find you, child. Now, for the sake of not keeping you here all day, I will try to keep my deep dives on these next two women brief, not deep. Brief dives. If you've ever been to a concert, art installation, or even Olympic ceremony and thought, damn, that stage design is fire, Devlin was probably behind it. And for those of you wondering who the heck Devlin is, gather around, listen up, listen up. Although S's career began modestly designing small-scale stage designs for theater, she refused to let tradition box her in. While the others around her followed the rules for set design, she began asking the bigger questions. How can spaces make people feel? How can spaces tell a story of their own? How can spaces become the character? And it's that very mindset that led to her designing incredible immersive experiences for icons like Beyonce, Kanye West, Adele, even the London Olympics. What I love about her work is that it isn't just about creating cool aesthetic spaces. It's about transforming how people feel when they walk into a space. And the craziest part is that despite how successful and incredible of a career she's built for herself, she's spoken about how she still struggles with something like imposter syndrome. Even after, like I said, designing for some of the biggest names and stages in the world. But if you don't know much about her, I recommend starting with this documentary on Netflix called Abstract: The Art of Design. It's 2 seasons and I actually recommend watching both because it highlights some of the most incredible minds in design. Think Neri Oxman, Tinker Hatfield, Ruth Carter, Bjarke Ingels, everything from architecture and car design to graphic and shoe design. The list truly goes on and it is an incredible 2-season documentary. But to dive into S specifically, start with season 1 of Abstract: The Art of Design, episode 3, and I promise you will not be disappointed. Devlin is the perfect reminder that the best innovations come from questioning everything that already exists. I mean, why should we play by the rules when we can simply create and write our own? And speaking of innovation, that leads me into a woman who has constantly blown my mind since the moment I discovered her in 2014, which is a full 7 years after she debuted her first actual collection. And I'm talking about none other than Miss Iris Van Herpen herself. the sci-fi AI 3D printing fashion goddess. She's a genius. She doesn't just make clothes, she makes wearable art. And I'm not even a big fashion girl, but I am constantly blown away by some of the things that she creates. She's actually one of the first designers to embrace the use of 3D printing in fashion, back at a time where the industry was still obsessed with tradition and had no place for tech on the runway. But as a girly who majored in textiles and three-dimensional design, she introduced me to an entirely new world that I had no idea even existed. She completely shaped my perspective on exploration, on creative expression. Iris's work expanded my mind and enlivened me in ways that really made me approach life with curiosity first. And I've talked about how important it is to lead with curiosity over fear. And I really learned that curious nature, not learned it, but my curious nature was reinvigorated when I discovered her. It's the fact that she combines science, tech, architecture, fashion, art to create pieces that could exist on a runway, in a museum, and on a movie set. And did people get it at first when she first was dropping it? No. Did she care? No, because she kept doing it anyway, because she had a vision, she had a dream, she knew it would be worth it, and she saw it through no matter how many people told her what they thought she should be doing, what the normal traditional expectations of her were. She had a dream, she had a vision, she was confident in it, and she saw it through. Now her work are worn by people like Beyonce and Bjork. Insane. And I know that's not something she envisioned for herself when she first started playing around with the idea of becoming a fashion designer. When she decided, I want to be a fashion designer who dabbles into tech and dabbles into science and do things that people in fashion have not ever done before, at least not until that time. Now, fashion houses have finally caught up to where she was almost 2 decades ago. But it's a good reminder that if people don't understand your vision right now, it probably just means you're ahead of the curve and they haven't quite caught up yet. It's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're on the right path. You're just an innovator and you really need to keep going. But now that we've talked about the dark realities of dream chasing and the bold women who've bet on themselves, it's time to talk about you. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. And while raw truths and inspiring stories are great, they're not practical steps that you can actually take when you leave this video. So here are a few steps that you can take today, actionable tasks that you can actually do right now. First things first, you have to define your why. Because if you don't know why you want this, you'll just quit when it gets too hard. Your why has to be bigger than your fear of the unknown. Your why has to be so compelling that it would immediately break your heart if you decided to go into another direction. But now that you've defined your why, you actually have to build the skills to help you take that dream and turn it into an accomplishable goal. Because dreams without execution are just that, dreams. And dreams do come true, but once they become true, they're no longer dreams. In order to turn your dreams into goals that you can later accomplish and celebrate, I recommend taking a class, finding a mentor, and putting in the work behind the scenes that help you develop both your skills and your mind. Because once you've defined your why and actually developed your creative thought process and your skill set, tangible skills that you can actually do, your hard skills, you can then start leveraging your network. And I don't mean needing thousands and millions of followers in order to have a successful launch. I mean starting with your real life connections, people you actually already know or are somewhat connected to through another person. Reach out, collaborate, see how your skill set could be the missing piece that someone else needs and how their skill set could be the missing piece that you need. I'm actually meeting with a friend tomorrow morning so that we can brainstorm and collaborate and see how we could potentially work together, but also how sometimes just talking through things generates new ideas in our own minds. And And sometimes we learn and just can get exactly what we've been looking for just through those conversations and collaborating laterally across. Because if you never open your mouth, you'll never know what opportunities lie in the conversations of those around you. And I say that to you as I say that to me, because I have been scared to have some conversations with people about doing my first event. And it's like, girl, you have these connections, you've defined your why, you've built your skill set, you've gotten mentors. Now you're at that place where you really need to start leveraging your connections. And I've always been of the belief of, if I'm asking someone for a favor, I need to know what I can provide them in return. And that is a great thought process. But it isn't always a necessary step in leveraging those connections. Sometimes you just need to start the conversation, and then everything else can be figured out in time. You don't need to have it all figured out before you even approach the conversation, because then the conversation may never even happen, right? So leverage that network. Lastly, remember to embrace the messy middle, because there is no perfect time to start. There is only right now. At the end of the day, perfectionism is just procrastination in a cuter outfit. And with as much charm as a cute outfit may have, it does not change or take away from the fact that an overly critical mindset is still just trash sitting on the curb. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos if we didn't leave off with some kind of journal prompt, thing to ponder, thing to sound off in the comments about. So, if failure wasn't an option, wasn't on the table, what bold move would you make this year? Before the end of 2025, if failure was not even something you had to think about, what bold move, what bold action, what dream would you chase this year? Sound off in the comments about it if you're really feeling bold and spicy, which I hope you are. And if you aren't feeling bold, very bold and spicy, put it in your journal, but put it somewhere. Phone a friend, talk about it to yourself in the mirror, whatever you got to do, get it out of you. But if you can, write it down, type it down. That is what I recommend. If failure wasn't an option this year, I would just be a creative writer who creates immersive sensory experiences for people through events and other things that I guess I am still figuring out. But that is me putting it out there. And my first event will be in this Q2 season of the year before the end of June, ideally before we even get to Memorial Day. So you mark my words. Fear, that demon, ain't got time for her. She will not get me today this year. No, thank you, no, ma'am. And if the women I talked about today have taught us anything, it's that reinvention is a power move, not a plan B. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, and start doing, because this is just the beginning. And as always, thank you for tuning into this week's TED Talk. Going forward, I'm going to be doing a little bit less of these uncharted rants and wellness talks in favor of more vlogs. It seemed like you guys kind of like the vlogs, so I'm still going to have these conversations and these deep dives, probably more bi-weekly, and in between those will be more vlogs. But I'll also always work in conversations like these to those vlogs, because y'all know I am a certified professional Yappa child. Don't you worry, don't you fret. I feel like vlogs would be the best way for me to take you guys along as I build out my dream life and my dream career. And I hope that through the vlogs, you guys take inspiration and motivation to create that own sense of discipline in your life so that you can follow and chase the dreams and the life that you love and want to live. And on this journey, I'll be drawing inspiration from the women I mentioned today, plus more who inspire me, while showing both the highlights and the lowlights of taking on a path I've never done before. And so I know with that will come a bit of nerves, a bit of anxiety, but also a lot of excitement, a lot of curiosity, a lot of lessons that I'm sure I'll learn the hard way, because I'm stubborn and hard-headed like that. But I can't wait to really show you guys what all that entails and really take you all with me. If you want to follow along my journey of reinvention, dream chasing, and trying to adult without completely losing it, hit that subscribe, turn your post notifications on. Q1 for me really starts April 1st, so the new year is coming, and I'm really excited to be shaking off these cold winter gloomy blues for favor of the sunny, warm spring summer weather. And with that, I will see you guys all in the next one. See you next week. Stay tuned. Love you. Bye.